Hello English learners, welcome of you again. In this lesson, I will explain to you the reflexive pronouns. Reflexive pronouns are 7 in English, but when we change them into plural, there will be more. I want to draw your attention to two things. The first thing that we are going to use the word self with them, and when it is in the singular we say self, but when we talk about the plural we change it into selves by changing the f in self into v, then we add es to be selves. The second thing is that with the first and the second personal pronouns, we use the possessive adjectives with the word self, all right? Like myself, yourself, in the plural, ourselves or yourselves. While in the third personal pronoun, like he, she, it, and they, we use the objective pronouns with the word self or selves. Like with he, we say himself and not his self. All right. With she, we say herself. It's the same here. It's the same as possessive adjective and objective pronoun, so it will be the same. Herself. Uh, with it, we say itself and not its self. All right. With they, we say themselves and not their self. So focus on this point. So I will repeat it to you. With first and second personal pronouns, we use the possessive adjectives with the word self or selves, while in the third personal pronouns, we use the objective pronouns with the word self or selves. Alright guys, now when do we use the reflexive pronouns? In fact, we use them to indicate two things. Number one is to indicate that the subject is the doer and the receiver of the action. The second thing is to indicate that the subject or the doer of the action did the action alone. All right, so let's take some examples to understand the two cases. As you notice here, in the first case, reflexive pronouns are used to indicate that the subject is both giving and receiving the action. For example, we could say, I wash myself. Notice how myself is used in the place of the object, and the doer of the action is the same as the receiver of the action. The person who washed himself, he washed himself by himself and he washed himself, right? So in the second example, he sent the letter to himself. He is the doer and the receiver of the action. He is who received the letters and he who sent the letters. In the third example, he served herself in the cafeteria. In the fourth, they were talking to themselves. In the fifth example, you can see the difference for yourself. Alright, now as you see here, we use the reflexive pronouns in the place of the object here. While in the second case, there is another thing. Let's see. In the second case, reflexive pronouns are used to indicate that the doer did the action alone. Alright, look at these examples. Number one, I myself uh, believe that the proposal is good. Notice how we wrote myself after the subject straightly. And in the second example, he himself set out to break the long distance flying record. Also, we write here himself and not his self. This is first point. And the second point is that we wrote himself after the subject to indicate that the subject or the doer of the action did the action alone. In the third example, we say, you yourself must do this homework. You yourself must do this homework. In the fourth example, John himself brought these gifts. John himself and not his self. Himself brought these gifts. In the fifth example, she herself drove the car. She herself drove the car. We use here herself and we write it after the subject she to indicate that she is the doer of the action alone. She who did the action alone. So that's everything about the reflexive pronouns. If you like my video, please hit the like button, and if you have a lot of time, try to watch other videos. They are beneficial. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.